To order,
I can't do that thing.
Really?
and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Everyone is present and accounted for tonight. Move right into the consent agenda. Looks like we have a few different meeting minute notes. Any discussion, any issues with any of those meeting minutes notes?
No, there were quite a few of them. Are we going to be approving all of them that are in there?
Yeah, it would be all of them. If there's any revisions or any concerns with any of the notes, I know it did cover a couple different special meetings, so.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
And Casey, this might be directed to you, if you know the answer. It's like, when I was looking over this, the salaries of both you and Dawn, the superintendent, are the same. How does that work?
Don did that.
Did he?
He did that in August, I believe.
So he gave an increase, or
An
he just
increase.
didn't take an increase?
And he did not.
He took one and he gave me one.
Okay. That's the only question I have.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding the consent agenda? Does anyone have a motion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor clearly state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move to public participation, potential board action. Jim, do you want to grab the sign-in sheet just in case there's anything came in last second? I got it. First up, you. If you'd like to go to the stand and then state your name and address.
Good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Brandon Slider. I live at 2005 Kennedy Drive over by Friends Park. Thank you for having me tonight. So when the Friends Park situation came to light, our neighborhood faced a lot of confusion and frustration due to lack of information. Initially, there was a sense of apathy and pessimism, but through persistence, we came together and let our voices be heard. And I wanted to express that we're grateful that the CPRD board and staff listened to us, that they paused the adjustment with the city to look into all the stuff and uncover more details. The collaborative effort has made all the difference for us. Our goal has always been to reach a sensible conclusion, balancing the needs of the community with the responsible stewardship of our parks. As the situation evolved, so did our commitment to protecting what we hold dear. I've personally seen some of you walking around at our parks, walking dogs by our schools, sitting down at local coffee shops, and it's great to see board members who are involved in our community, not just sitting at a desk one time a month. We need that representation that meets the needs of our children, our neighbors, and community. And so whatever decision the board makes regarding the Friends Park situation, I understand that it's probably going to move into an executive session and we may find out at a later date. I want to thank you for listening to us and sharing the information last meeting that you learned, the information that you learned that you shared with us. It's been encouraging to see CPRD's willingness to engage with the community on this matter. I do hope the decision prioritizes protecting Friends Park and its natural spaces. And it's our dream not only to save Hess Creek land, but to replant native vegetation and preserving this area for generations to come. If CPRD still wishes to develop a trail, I hope we can collaborate to ensure that plans are thoughtful and sustainable. And I want to also assure you that our neighborhood and community are ready to take action. We're prepared to mobilize volunteers to repair what's been damaged. We can work together to make Friends Park more inviting for everyone. It's vital that we maintain and improve what we already have. And this is an opportunity to lead by example, showing how parks can be preserved and enhanced for the benefit of our entire community. And I hope that it can be a model for all parks moving forward. So thank you again for your time and your help.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Alex Chaper.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Alex Kipper. I'm a resident of Dundee, 520 Southwest Fig Street in Dundee, Oregon. And at the same time, I'm a new elected city council.
Probably not. There you go.
Yeah.
Better now. So, a new elected city councilor. So, I'm here to answer if any questions show up down the road on new development on Sander Estate Park. And one comment I will have for tonight is I've seen a lot of, since I live in the middle of Billick Park, I've seen increase of vandalism in that park, so I wanted to see if we can come up with a plan or some solutions we as a residents can help CPRD, and at the same time CPRD, like what limits, what we can do to avoid that, because that's the only park we have. We need to preserve it as much as we can. And I know Brian tries to do as much hard work as he can, but we need to get more involved into it. And down the road, if during a meeting, if any questions, I'll be more than happy to come up and express the public opinion on Sander Estate, personal opinion, and what we can do to move forward, because that's something hot on the plate. We need to get going on it. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming, appreciate it.
Okay. Next, we have, I'm going to do a slight modification because I don't believe we have anyone from Chehalis Valley BMX here tonight.
Hi,
We do.
sorry.
Well, exciting. Okay.
First time here, so I forgot
You
to
are,
look around.
if you want to go up to the mic over there and then just state your name, and then you can present your letter.
Sure, I was not prepared for that. Presenting,
No problem.
but I'm happy to-
Yeah.
Yes, nice to meet all of you. My name's Julie Troyanik. I'm a parent and volunteer with Chehalis Valley BMX. We're a nonprofit group that runs the local public bike track over at Ewing Young. And today we're requesting a review for a letter of support. This is for a project. We're looking to secure funding on our own for installing exterior lighting and the benefits of that. Excuse me, I have a lung injury. The benefits of that, of course, as you know, in the Pacific Northwest, when we lose light, we can't operate outdoors. So half the year we're closing down, or if we are operating, it might not be the safest conditions for packing up our volunteers or staff. So this would be a great asset to working family schedules and to continue operations.
Okay, and I do believe the board did all get an email with that letter. So if any board member has any questions about that letter or questions for our presenter, now would be a time to bring that up.
I have a question, but I do have to say, I was wandering around Ewing this weekend, and these guys are amazing. They are doing an incredible amount of work just to shore up the bank there, and they keep the place looking wonderful. I totally support whatever we can do to support them.
Are these lights going to be on a timer?
Better yet, they'll only be controlled during operations, so when specifically there's an event. So still the dawn to dusk, where there won't be any lights outside of an event. And that would be energy efficient lighting that's digitally controlled, so it can be very, very easy to control that.
Okay.
And that's a little bit of my concern, and I'm sure that you're gonna work with our staff on this to take care of the light travels, and if it's gonna be directed just at that BMX track or it goes on to the skate park, because if it goes on to the skate park, I can guarantee you that they will skate. And so that's a little bit of a concern, and the other concern I have is that, making sure that, you know, that sound travels there, and, we need to make sure that, I'm not sure what time you're going to be shutting down, but most of our parks shut down, you know, at dusk. We'll have to make a special exception here, but I think you need to work with staff and have a reasonable time, because we can't, if they're out too late, and I know that Newberg has a noise ordinance also.
10 o'clock.
We just need to be cognizant of that, you know, to think about the neighbors that are around there. So, but I appreciate what you're doing. I know a lot about that course, and it's morphed 5 different times to a new course, and you guys done a great job. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the kind words. And yeah, we've had similar discussions about ensuring that there's not, any concern with residents or otherwise. And the timers was a big part, but also it's not extending the hours, it's just extending the use in the parts of the year where daylight is shutting off at 4:30. So if you're a working family, there's just not any time even to run an hour-and-a-half race.
Sure.
And what that means for a lot of community kids that don't have sports during that period of the year is they're going a little crazy, not just, needing something to do, but, the parents really don't have good resources. So we have a lot of parent advocates that are working families that are, not looking to make a change to the run later, just to continue running.
Just to morph on this a little more, and I don't mean to belabor this, but, you're gonna put lights on that course. You have a big parking lot right there. I remember I put in the one big light there way back in the day. I don't know if there's any other lights been put in there, so there may be other areas that we might wanna think about, because if it's gonna be dark and someone falls, or it's real, or gets into trouble, so maybe something to think about with the staff, and talk to them about that. Maybe you'll need more light than you think because of that, because people are gonna park in that parking lot. It's gonna be dark out there. There's a trail back behind it. So all those things just need to be cognizant of. And I'm sure the staff will talk to you about that. But thanks
Thank you.
again.
Any other questions? So,
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
As we write this letter, is this something that we develop with you, or do you have a contractor, or?
They're a 501c3,
Okay.
so they are doing this on their own. They're applying for grants, getting money to build out
That's
the
what I'm talking
infrastructure.
about, like the plan, like where the lights go and.
They have a plan.
You have a plan?
Yeah, they have a lighting plan.
Okay, do we approve that, or we just be like, go for it?
I've looked at it. I mean, it does basically specifically light up the BMX track.
and so are you the primary contact for these projects?
Myself and Brian. Brian's been working with them.
And staff hasn't had any concerns with
No,
anything?
Roger's been helping kind of with the track and kind of keeping things moving.
Okay.
It's kind of a cooperation type thing.
Yeah.
Met with Ryan out there today,
Yep.
and president of BMX, and he showed me exactly what they're going out for with contract, for where they'd like to put the 4 poles. And specifically, and step by step, he's included me in everything they're doing.
Okay,
And it's very favorable.
okay.
I think it's a positive.
Yeah, and I reviewed the letter, and I mean, this is the exact kind of partnership we want with the community and with our park users. They're raising the money, they're doing the work, they're maintaining the structures. This is a win-win. So I'm in full support of approving the letter. If I don't know if we just need consensus among us to support that, or if there's
Yeah, I
any
don't think it needs
concerns
to
we
be a
can.
motion. I think just consensus
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah.
Any
Let the
concerns?
staff go ahead.
Any concerns with that before we distribute it and sign it? And okay, all right. Thank you very much for
Good
coming.
luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, our next.
You know, I don't know, I think that we should vote on this. And the only reason why I say that is because I want a record that shows we decided to do this because we voted on it versus,
Well,
versus.
it'll be in the record. Anyway, I mean, it's in the minutes right now. Because we get letters like this on a regular basis. So I'm not sure that we need to. I mean, we can if you want. I'm not sure.
Well, then we can say, we voted on it and it was approved by the board. So of course, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, if
so
that's
it
the way you
is,
wanna
it
go,
just
that's
isn't
fine.
official. Yeah, so.
Well, that being said,
Yeah, so I make a motion that we approve this letter as stated.
the letter for Chehalem Valley BMX lighting project grant request. Okay, motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I think Gail got in there just a half second before you, so. Okay, motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the signing in support of the letter as so stated, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Has passed unanimously. Okay. Looks like our final public participation item is Walter Want. Oh, here you are. Regarding the plaque modification at the Chehalem Cultural Center mobile sculpture.
Good evening. I've been here almost 50 years, and occasionally you establish a reputation. When something erupts, they volunteer your body to take the pain. So at the dedication of the sculpture, we discovered as a new Rotarian that we had omitted a major donor's name from the plaque. And what we want to do is cleanse that sin, pull the plaque, update it, put it back on the sculpture, but it's not ours. It belongs to Park and Rec. So what we're asking is permission to do that modification to honor that donation that was accidentally missed.
How long has this plaque been up? Is this,
How long's it been up?
Yeah.
Since the dedication?
It's like a couple years. It's the
Couple
big,
years.
tall.
Ask
in
Jim.
okay,
front of the-
understood. Okay.
So I could talk about this. a
This
little
is the
bit.
mobile that's in front of the Chehalem Cultural Center.
Yeah.
So the plaque was totally donated. I mean, the elliptical structure, the one that turns and moves in front of the cultural center, was basically donated, by the Rotary Club in Newberg. There was no money from the Park District put into it at all, so it was a total donation. There's four sides to that, that structure. And so this is for Janice Bacon, and we talked about this as a board back when it first came out, and they said, well, why isn't, maybe we should honor Denise. So this come up before, but we weren't 100% sure of all the plaques. So this would be a separate plaque on one of the sides that's blank with her name on it. Just to give you some history, Janice Bacon was a city councilor with the city of Newberg. She was in in the Noon Rotary Club. She worked for a nonprofit that did a lot in Oregon. She really cared about the community, so our Rotary Club and so on feel it's important that she be honored. I'm sure a lot of the citizens of the community would be happy with that too. So that's where we're at. So the only cost that may incur the Park District on this is, I'm gonna have to, drill into it and put some epoxy in there, and I'm gonna ask the staff to help us with that, but that's about it, just to mount it. I don't know if we need to do a motion. I think we can just approve it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine staff having any concerns with this process. Casey, Brian? No issues? Okay. All right. Thank you, Walter, for presenting this, and let's get it done.
And for
Thanks,
remembering
Walter.
Denise, yeah, thank you.
One other absent for this. Somebody's found something out about me, and they dropped an envelope by, and it's one of the youth soccer teams from about, I think, 76. And it's got all these nice young men there, and I recognize two of them. One of them is a young adoptee from Africa, and he's got an afro about that tall. The other one is my son, and I still recognize him. But when this was given to me, my wife suggested I review this photograph, and I did. And then she suggested I use the magnifying glass to check me out, and got down to the end, and there's a young guy there in short pants, black hair, standing on a stool about that size because the kids didn't want the coach to be smaller than the players. And it's a keeper photo.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along to appointment of budget committee members. Looks like my understanding is Jim Talt is stepping down.
Correct.
We do have an existing member who's willing to serve again.
Elizabeth. Comfort.
Elizabeth, and she has extensive knowledge with budgets. I think she works for, is it Washington or Clackamas County?
Clackamas.
Clackamas. I know she was very helpful in the budget process last time because she actually understands municipal budgets. So it's kind
I
of the
think
background.
we need
there.
to put this out, I think. But I can mention that I talked with Kathy Try, who was the treasurer for many, many, many years for the city of Newberg, and she has that experience, and I think that she's worked with, she's worked with other agencies and so on. So, and she has a good idea of the budget, and she came in and helped when we were having budget issues in the past with Heidi, who was our financial person here, so she has an understanding of her budget. I'm not saying she may be interested, I'll talk to her, but she might be a good appointment down the road.
So is your suggestion to open up 2
Yeah.
vacancies or accept the reapplication of?
I think
Elizabeth?
we're gonna, if we're looking for applicants at 2 or up, I don't know.
I think
how we
you
wanna
need to
handle it.
open it up for applicants.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
Elizabeth is one of them, and then
Yeah.
we voted that time to give everybody a fair shot.
Yeah. Okay.
I just brought her name up, there might be more people.
Yeah.
So when do we have to actually have budget committee members identified?
Next board meeting.
In the February board
Yeah,
meeting?
you'll
Okay.
probably have.
Okay. Next, Richard, are you there? Yes. Okay, if you are on the agenda to give us an update regarding technology for board members. If you could turn your mic up a little bit louder. I know you're used to telling us that, but. It's a little quiet, but I think we can manage. Go ahead.
That better?
Oh, that's good. Woo.
Cool. All right, so it has come to kind of our attention that we need to get board members devices so they can operate with technology, basically. That could be whether it's an iPad, a laptop, or something in between. That way they can answer their emails on a district-owned device, and we can kind of monitor that, and especially during the, what was it called? Superintendent search, having to use personal devices to do video calls didn't work really very well, and it's not best practices. So moving forward, we are going to get all 5 of you laptops. They'll be district-owned, and get you guys all set up so you guys can use that, whether it's word processing or accessing your email. That way you guys have a dedicated device for that purpose. And then if you guys do need to print something, you guys can come in and print to us, and we can use our printers and stuff. Any questions?
And for those of us who are not technologically inclined, you'll provide any sort of IT assistance to any board member directly, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so any staff or groups within our district I support. So if you have issues with your laptops or trying to do something, just call the IT department and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Do you have a date on that, Richard?
So right now we're going out for not really bid, but we're trying to get it done with a slew of other bids, so we get it good cost-wise. And we're also putting in a, what do you call those things? Credit application with Lenovo, because we're going with Lenovo for the devices. So we're just waiting for them to come back to us with the whole package.
Okay.
Jim, you had a question?
Yeah, my question is, I remember probably 20 years ago, the board got tablets, and they weren't really used that much at that time. That was technology back then when tablets were new, and hey, let's do that. So that's one comment. And the other comment I have is, was this in the budget?
No, this was not in the budget. Casey would have more information about this, as I don't have the budget in front of me or anything.
What is the
That's
cost?
a board request.
Excuse me?
That's a board request to have, and also because the rules have changed. If you use your personal devices for public meetings and things like that, it opens up your device to, you know, the laws.
Well, I just noticed in one category, technology's over budget, and I just want to make sure that we're okay with this, because it's like, I mean, I don't know how much these are costing. How much, nobody knows how much these are costing yet?
I think, Richard, you had an estimate.
Probably
of-
about under 10,000.
It's less than that. It's under 5.
Yeah.
Under 5, okay.
You can get a Chromebook for 150. I mean, we need really low.
No, you gotta have
Standards, right?
security on it. It's gotta be, yeah, it's can't be just, yeah.
And we do have counsel here, so might as well earn your money. Can you give us a few of the legal reasons why it's important that board members have some sort of technology? Should we have Zoom meetings, be responding to emails, some messaging, that sort of business?
Yeah, I mean, the best reason is probably the one already said, that if you need to have your official stuff and your personal stuff separate. And it's gonna be a lot easier to respond if there's a public records request or thing like that. I mean, you can have it where it's on the same device, but then somebody's gonna have to go through it, and it's just much, much cleaner to have it separate. In terms of costs, I mean, the biggest cost is probably not the hardware part, it's gonna be the software part, it's the security part, and you're gonna have to deal with that either way. But it's gonna be easier to administer, and from the legal standpoint, it's really just responding to public records requests and making sure there's a separation there.
We're a little late, but we're gonna get to the
For,
21st
it's
century.
for your own protection.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I'm just looking at the budget and saying, hey, so if it's under $5,000, then okay, you guys can do it. If it's over 5,000, you have to bring it back and get it approved.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard, keep it under 5,000, okay?
I want a cheap one.
That's the plan.
Yeah, and if you have a scratch and dent, give that one to Gail. Just kidding.
I will personally scratch it for her.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have a discussion of Crabtree Park. This has been kind of an ongoing discussion. I think, Jim, you prepared something to take the lead on this one.
Yeah, it's just discussion for this at this point, and then I'd like to get a report back from the staff at the March meeting. One of the things that kind of tweaked my interest was when we had the superintendent's search. One of the superintendents went and looked at Crabtree and said, "Whoa, you got some issues out here." So I went over there and took a look. But I came here in 1980, and Neva Crabtree of the Crabtree family was on our board of directors at that time, and her husband Jack Crabtree and so on donated, I think, back to the county way back in the day. Anyway, and this was originally an old rock quarry, that place, and so they decided. So what's underneath that thing is rock. So they brought in, a certain amount of soil on top of it and did that, and they put in irrigation, not sure it was the county or the park district, it was before my time on that part. But in the meantime, 2 toilets were burned down, another porta potty was melted down, and all these things happen out there, because this park's way out there for most people. But it's a beautiful setting, so don't get me wrong. We used to have domestic water out there. We had to stop doing that because some problems with the water, and also state rules to check it every day. And to send an employee out there every day to check it, it got to be difficult. And so we don't have domestic water out there at this time. But no one's really complained about that either. People just go, we're going out there to the park and it's fine. But with that said, looking at it and walking through it, we need to close the park right now to fix it. I mean, if we have someone run across that park right now, if any of you ran across the park right now, then there's a really good chance that you would, sprain your ankle pretty badly or break something. So we need to take some of our resources now and put them into that park, because at this point it is unsafe, and our sign is on the entrance to that park. So we need to take a look at that, as well as, one time I fixed the pond out there, it's not working anymore. Is there a problem?
Richard, there's a little feedback. I'm not sure if it's something you can control.
That's scary.
The playground needs new surfacing. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I don't want to do that. But I do know that right now, our contract, and correct me if I'm not stating this correctly, is not current with the county.
It's month to month,
It's month to month.
because it's
Okay.
expired.
So, because it expires, so we need to look at that, and we maybe want to talk to the county about whether, hey, county, they want to take it over? Do we want to do that? Or, my thing, if we're going to put in the amount of money we're going to have to put in to get this fixed, and I say with the road on one side being eroded by the creek, the culvert at the beginning, fixing the bridge, fixing the pond, fixing these other things, you're probably looking at $600,000 to $700,000 by the time you're done with that part. But with that said, we are in the park business. I don't want to say, get rid of that park, but I'd like a staff report, and I'd like some signs put up out there immediately, basically talking about safety and so on. It's not only the rodents that are getting in there that are causing the problem, that are digging like crazy, because I personally went out before I left and was trapping them. And some of these were big squirrels. And to get them out of there, but then the dogs come in after people let their dogs out, and then the dogs dig. And so there's holes, no kidding, this deep out there. So let's take care of that. And I did talk to Jim Bernard, who had worked on that before, and they had disked that before and re-leveled it before. And I think that that's something we could do again, and I think now might be a good time while it's still soft out there, because I can guarantee you, if we let it get into the late spring, it's gonna be harder than a rock out there. So I just wanted to bring it up, and I need the staff to take care of this. And I'd like to get a full report on how they want to go ahead from the staff in March.
Okay.
There we go. So it's just a concern, because it's, the safety of our patrons. We need to take care of that.
Well, I think we have a lot to discuss with Crabtree Park, with the county, and also with the neighboring vineyard and the gun club out there, especially with respect to the culvert, the passage there, because that could deteriorate and be gone.
Yeah, it'd be good to put a bathroom in out there, because I could tell you right now, we're paying just for one porta potty, and this would be us or the county or anybody else that puts in porta potties, $400 a month. And we make from rentals on that park $1,500 in a year. So the reality is, parks can cost you money. I get that. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But we need to take a hard look at it and do the right thing.
Is it worth spending $30,000 on a bathroom out there?
Well, and you can think about it another way.
It's not 30,000.
303. Excuse me.
No, it's $400 a month.
No, if we were to build a bathroom, they'd go for what, $300,000 a pop, I think is.
What that would cost, but I know that, like, you got 4 or 5 porta potties just at the skate park.
Well, porta potties are cheap.
I just told you what they were to clean them. So anyway, that's something to think about too. So the new bathrooms compared to what were out there before are quite different. You know, they're all concrete and so on. Before they had what's called a Clevis Multrum bathroom, it's a wooden structure. And before that, and I don't know what year the thing one was built, but it was old. So they had to take that down. It was invandalized. So, but it's a beautiful park, beautiful place. We got the gun club right there, the great neighbors. So, and we probably want to bring them in on the discussion too, because I'm sure that they want to work with us.
What is the 600,000 that you're talking about include?
There's a culvert at the beginning, getting into the park. We're not sure on the easement on that. We're still discussing that with the landowner in the county. So that's in process. There's a road that I widened that goes beside a stream. It's asphalt, and that's starting to fall in. So we're gonna have to either move away from that and move the road into the park or do something different.
Is that all part of fixing the culvert?
No, that's separate.
So it's further away.
Yeah. And then, you know,
Well,
there's.
somebody used tires filled with concrete for a barrier on that creek.
That was before I was born.
Uh-huh.
That was a long time
Well, that's
ago.
part of the
They didn't have
the
tires
fish
back
passage thing.
But what they use to shore up the side is now deteriorating, and it's in fact it's blocking the creek, and that's going to cause more erosion. So we need to look at that. So there's a lot of issues out to a really nice, beautiful, quiet space, but it's going to take a lot more from us, and we might want to look at the budget next year to, you know, maybe look at some more staff to get out there, because it does cost the district quite a bit of money if you're bringing a mower out there and an employee and so on. And we're no longer on contract with the county corrections because they were getting less and less folks because of the change in laws and so on. So we need to just take care of it. If we're gonna stay with it, we need to take care of it like we try to take care of the rest of our parks. But anyway, I don't wanna belabor this.
Yeah, Brian.
Staff, I think it would behoove us, and clarification for staff, if we could get some clarification as to where are we going with Crabtree Park?
Yeah.
And what is the long-term, you know, what is that? Because if we are a month now, it's very difficult to zone in on that with all our other issues that we have, or challenges in the park district to maintain what we have, not knowing. And then just to run out there and put together a plan and assets.
Well, no, right now that
For
we.
my benefit, I would challenge the board to, we could discuss that further.
Yeah, so if staff can put together, what they feel would be, like a maintenance plan for the park and what you feel the cost, man hours, some ideas to rectify these things, bring it back. We'll put this on the agenda as a discussion item for next month. And then in the interim, I think, we'll do some talking, fact-finding, because we are in kind of park purgatory on this one, honestly. We have a situation with our relationship with the county and also the relationship with the gun club, neighboring vineyard, who have vested interest in the road and in the culvert repair, which obviously is expensive because someone thinks there's cutthroat trout there. So I think, and you're right, it's our job. We have to make these decisions and guide staff. It's almost unfair when we have a month-to-month situation, and with all of our other priorities, how do we prioritize this? But to what Jim said, there's also safety concerns.
But in
This
the
isn't-
meantime,
this isn't okay.
I'm adamant that we just at least need to sign it, say, you know, there are, however you wanna sign it. I don't wanna keep people from the park, but we need to warn them that there's a possibility they run across that yard out there at the
It
park.
starts
out
right
there.
at the beginning where the culvert is, so that's a safety issue.
Yeah.
It's been addressed, so for us to even invite people in there, you know, it's literally at that point. And, you know, that's pretty cut and dry. I
Well,
mean,
please, let's sign it now, because people are still going in there.
What would you suggest
should
I
we
sign it, saying?
But should we shut it down for now? I don't know if we even have the ability to, but I mean,
I don't
I'm
think we
just
operate.
saying is that if it's dangerous, our
It's not,
liability has
it's
to
not
be
that
bad.
dangerous. It's not any different than it was a year ago.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we could sign it saying, please be careful running across this field.
Yeah, just
There are
sign the
holes or
field.
something like
That's
that.
all you need to
We
do.
could sign it that way, and then try to disc it this year.
Right.
But we need to get in there to do something because it's been boned.
My last correspondence with Paige was they borrowed some of the plans that we had, and they were going to apply for a grant to get that culvert paid for. That was last fall.
So let's really work in the next 30 days. Connect on that with Paige. We can connect with the gun club as well, and then also with the county, because we've got to get something figured out. Because this is, I mean, we've been talking about
Year
this since
3.
I've been here and before that. So we do need to give some guidance as a board to staff, and also, I mean, the timing's good because we're going into budget. So this may be the type of thing that is going to be a budget priority, if that's what we decide. Lisa, did you have
No, I just want to make sure that if we're going to spend any money, we have a contract. I don't want to do a month to month and spend a lot of money on this park if we don't know what's going to happen with it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving parts, and I get it, and it is the chicken and the egg almost on how it all has to go. So I just want to make sure that we're getting a plan before we spend money.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll make sure this is on the agenda next month, and we will be working on it up until our next meeting. Okay. Go ahead and move on to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission's training. We just put this on there. Registration is open with the COG. It is legally required for any new board member to attend this training at least once in their before their term expires. So that would be 2 of us. I don't know if you attended this yet, but
I think it's required for all board members.
Yeah.
On the board now.
Right. So
Not just new folks.
not just
Even though I want you to go to class.
Yeah. So I know Kat sent out the information on this. There's an option for, I believe there's an option for virtual attendance in this one. Kat, is that true?
Yep.
Okay. So we can do either or. Obviously, the district will help us sign up and pay for that. So.
It's actually, there's no charge, and you can register yourself, or I could register it for you.
Oh, this is the no charge one. Okay, even better. Exciting. Okay. So, just a housekeeping thing. Okay, and then we do have we are a member of the Chehalem Chamber of Commerce. The Community Awards Gala is coming up, and so anyone who wants to attend, I think Jim's attending, so am I. Hopefully our potentially our new superintendent may be attending as well, so we have a little CPRD table there. I don't know if anyone else.
I'm not
No?
sure just
No?
yet.
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, let's just try to get.
When do you need to know, Kat? Now?
Yeah, if you could let me know by early next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, want to get that information over and get us booked. Okay. So we'll move into board member comments next, and then we'll tackle advisory committees before we move into our executive sessions at the end of the agenda. I'll start with Jim, and we'll just go this way.
A couple things real quick. We had a lifeguard at the pool that was fell ill. I think he was dehydrated, and he ended up fainting. And the staff handled it really well. They had to put him on a drip when they called the EMTs because he was so dehydrated. So, and he's fine and he's back, but he's an athlete at George Fox, and they gotta know that they gotta keep water in him, I guess. So they handled it really professionally, and it was great. And also, another question I have is, can we, on these agendas, because I flipped back through and I try to find, okay, where are we talking about, and it's difficult. Can we put, like, under each item, can we put just the page number on here? Because when I go back, I don't know how it's gonna be different on the computer, but it's kind of like, okay, where's 17 and where's that article? So if we could do that, I'd appreciate it. For
I actually
housekeeping.
have that in the front matter there. If you look after the memo, there's a table of contents with the page numbers on there. We've done that for several years.
Then I'm losing it.
Page 5.
I apologize.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have nothing.
I have nothing. Gail?
I don't have anything.
Well, I mean, I kind of already said a little bit about hanging out at Ewing this weekend, and it was really cool because the signage, so thank you guys for putting, I know it's been up for a bit, but the signage really does help, and it makes it for a good experience, I think, for a lot of different people, so I really appreciate that. But again, was so impressed with the work that the BMX group is doing. They're out there all the time, and what they're doing right now is just, it's great to see that you're putting all that extra effort into making sure what you guys want to have happen is right for what you need, because you're going to know way more than we are on that anyhow. So it's just nice to see the community out there really taking care of what they have and making it better. And so that was good to see.
And did you also have something prepared?
Oh, yeah, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now would
So-
be the time.
You know, we as a board we have certain responsibilities, which is to, do policy, approve our budgets, and then also to hire, fire, manage the superintendent. And that's in a nutshell, kind of our responsibilities. And over this past year, I would like to say that I think that Casey has done a phenomenal job stepping into a lot of different spaces all at the same time and taking on way more roles than his own. And he is our acting superintendent right now. And I would like to propose that we recognize that by giving him a bonus, a $10,000 bonus for all of that work.
For doing the 2.5 jobs
The
there.
2.5 jobs, the 400 hours a week. Just, yeah, it is crazy, and I feel like it kept things moving in a way that could have really stumbled during that period. And I think he aged because he had to work so many hours and all that stress. You know, he doesn't have just the responsibility of his own job. He has a bunch of different jobs, and trying to get all that together is not an easy thing, so.
Yeah, I remember driving by the golf course, you're there at 4 a.m, here till 8 at night, so definitely I agree that some recognition has to be given. Something other than just words, given the fact that you were taking the brunt of a couple different positions, and you are our, at least on an interim basis, you are our employee, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure that governments can't give bonuses, just legal-wise. That's
Is
like-
that-
Well,
That's
luckily we have an
tips.
attorney here, so let's see.
That's like tips, right? And
Yeah.
for one, I was doing my job, what was needed in the district, and I appreciate that. But I probably won't accept that.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, because I really do think you're worth, I mean, all the work you did was worth way more than that. It would be good to know legally whether or not we can do this kind of thing in the future, because it was my understanding that the board has the authority and the ability to give the superintendent a bonus because he's on a contract, so.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm actually gonna have to look that up. I think you're right, but I should double check on that. And the other thing they've added, there might be implications under the Equal Pay Act, which is, basically.
Don't want to go there.
So I'll put that on my list to look up.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, give us just
And
a quick, if this is something that's doable or not, so. Yeah.
And I apologize if I'm putting you in an awkward position. We'd love to probably make that recommendation for every staff member here at CPRD, because they all have stepped up so incredibly this past couple of years. So I didn't mean to embarrass you, but I just really wanted to make sure that we all understand and recognize the extra efforts that you made, and we really do appreciate it.
Well, I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have staff under me that did their job,
I
so
know.
I appreciate them too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention too, is that I know that Casey did a heck of a lot of heavy lifting, but Kat was in there too, Julie and and other folks too, that took different areas, because Casey was so involved at the golf course. So, I just appreciate all the staff for all the hard work they did during that interim period. So, thank you.
Yeah, and if we could, I would have made it for everybody, but we only have one person that we can deal with in that way. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, board members. Citizen Advisory Committee updates. Do we have anyone for pickleball or golf clubhouse?
Pickleball meets Monday.
Pickleball meets Monday, okay. I don't see anyone from the golf clubhouse committee. We have a couple trails committee folks. I don't know if you guys have anything to say. I was at the last trail committee meeting. That was, we have a lot, we're working on the signs, Ewing Young signs, and then just kind of a sign policy throughout the district is something we're working on with staff. We have a field trip coming up, so we can start seeing some of the parks, some of the trail systems that we're talking about. And of course, the big one is Riley, how we're gonna sign Riley, how we're gonna map Riley, you know, what is doable in-house versus potentially having some mapping done. So we're getting into a lot of big stuff, and it's a great committee. So excited to be there for that. And Jim also provided an update on the Newberg Dundee bypass trail at the committee meeting.
Right, and so I think that in projects, Casey's going to allude to that, so I'll let him talk about that later. But I did attend the golf course clubhouse meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, and they're got a good bunch of people working on it, and they were going to take off February and wait until the new superintendent gets their wheels underneath them, and then they'd like to meet and talk with him. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of fact finding. They're visiting other golf course clubhouses, and you know, I think they'll come back with some interesting information, and we'll go from there.
I think they had a survey in there too.
Yeah, they did their survey, the community survey, and I think they finished that.
Mhm.
And so now the feasibility comes in, and how that's going to work.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay, next we have project updates, and is that going to be you, or is that Gary? Is
Well,
he
it'll kind of be a combination of both of us, but I'll let
Combina-
Gary speak first because he probably has the most to say.
Okay.
I know that everything's moving forward really well. There's a little glitch in the Saunders estate.
Yeah.
We'll speak to that.
It's like glitch number 500. Gary, are you on and available?
I am on. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. You have the floor.
I don't know if you can see me or if there's anything I need to do for my video.
We can't see you, but that probably...
That's a request to Richard.
That's a Richard thing. So Richard, if you can get him on video, go ahead. Oh, there you are.
I turned it on my side. So.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh.
Good evening. You've got this, and I apologize for getting this to you late. I had a pretty significant little illness that's going around last week that kind of laid me up. But I wanted to give you a quick update on primarily 3 projects. The first couple are going to go fairly quickly, and Casey is infinitely more involved in these historically. My engagement has been, as you know, fairly brief. So I'll let him embellish or add on anything or even correct anything that I might say. But the first one is Jacliffe Park. That type 2 land use application was submitted to the city of Newberg on the 13th of this month. Landscape architecture firm NV5 is under contract, which is a great because they've been working on this project and they're working now on completing the 100% final construction documents that would be included in the request for proposal. And I've sent them a template RFP from the district. They're going to help kind of prepare the bid packet for district review to be issued once we get that final land use approval. Another step would be, as part of that land use approval process, public notifications posted at the park and through direct mail to property owners whose property lies within 500 feet of the park site. Casey had the title company pull those names and addresses. We submitted those with the land use app and created mailing labels that staff has. And we'll be prepared to send out those mailers as soon as we get the go-ahead from the Newberg planning. Then we'll do a pre-application meeting. Leanne at the City of Newberg is our assigned planner. She's acknowledged receipt, and she's under the 14-day review process right now for completeness. So pretty straightforward on this one. The next page, I showed you the land use review procedure type 2. This is the desired timeline for the city planning department based on their regulatory requirements as well as their own customer service standards. So it's a 57-day process from day zero. Day zero begins when they deem the application complete. So we submitted it on January 13th. They've got 14 days, so that'd be a target date of January 27th for them to determine if it's complete. If not, then we have 180 days to respond to any incomplete information and resubmit. I think this has been through the ringer a few times, so I'm hopeful that we've got it down now at MD5 with this application. And if that's the case, if it's accepted and we start at day zero on January 27th, we have a target then for a final decision after all the public communications, public hearings, appeal periods. That would give us a target of March 25th to get this project actually underway and out to bid.
Right.
Any questions on that one?
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, if we can hit that summer window, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Newberg Dundee, I heard a couple of board members had just mentioned that a moment ago. Casey and I had a conference call with Wes Shoger from Greenworks and Casey Dark from Emery and Sons, the contractor. And the updated type 2 land use application was submitted to, Casey submitted that earlier this week, January 21st. Emery and Sons is updating their construction project timeline and their cost estimates based on this submission date that we just completed. Title company is doing a similar, we're gonna have them pull the similar 500 foot name and address for the notifications. We've got the notification, direct mail, and the signage already drafted. We just need to pop in the permit number and then execute that direct mail to those property owners. Again, once we get through that phase of the application process. And then there's a couple of documents that Casey sent to the city that they need to complete for some state and federal forms. And they've got those and they will complete those, but they wanted to deem our application of the type 2 complete before they did that. So that's all queued up and ready to go. So based on that updated construction timeline, Casey's working on a request to extend the deadline of the ODOT grant for 1.8 million, which will likely be required for the phasing of this project. And then the costs have also gone up over time, so that's something you'll be looking probably for consideration during your upcoming budget effort for the 25-26 budget cycle. And I provided you a similar type 2 review timeline on this one, with the date being January 22nd submitted. Target date for them to deem completeness would be February 5th. Then we've got that public notice and referral 15-day comment period. This is when we would send out the notifications. Deadline for comments in 35 days, a 14-day appeal period, and then final decision on April 3rd. So the same thing, still shooting for construction windows, so getting some work done. The contractor indicated that there'd be a lot of path work done initially, and then the bridge that's being constructed offsite, the bridge structure would be brought in and put in place in the fall. Casey, anything to add to that one?
No.
And all
Any
of this is being done
questions?
within the ODOT easement, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, on city or ODOT land, yeah.
Thanks.
That's the way we're taking it.
Then I saved the Sanders for last on this update. And, because this one has a few challenges. And Jim and Matt, I understand you may have attended the Dundee City Council meeting this week. I apologize. I had contacted them last week and asked the planning director, Doug Rux, and Steve Dahl to pull it from the agenda until I could come back before the board this evening and update you on the status and get some direction from the board. And I noticed when I heard that you, Casey, had indicated to me that you were in attendance, I went on their website and saw that we were still an agenda item, which surprised me because I asked them to remove that in plenty of advance time.
I remember.
My understanding was, when I talked to Doug Rex about it, he said it was already printed and out. That's why it was still there. That's what he said.
Okay. So we did meet with the Dundee City Council. Brett from our landscape architecture firm under contract, Lango Hansen, who's been working on this project fairly extensively, is very knowledgeable and is handling all the land use application processes and has been dealing with all the conditions of approval. The application was deemed incomplete in May 23rd of last year. And that started a 180-day window for completeness. I came on, at the end of that window and just jumped in, not knowing that start date, but started working with Lango, Hansen, and Casey fairly quickly to get this application resubmitted, which we did. And then the staff report got written up and we went to the city council on the 7th of this month to give them an informational update of the district's response to satisfying the conditions of approval that deemed the application incomplete. We came out of that meeting thinking then that we would just come back on the 21st for the formal approval, a fairly quick Zoom call, if you will. But we found out after, and Matt was with us, with Brett and I, we found out after that there were new conditions of approval that were going to be written up for the meeting on the 21st. And one of the primary condition of approval, and I've laid out in the document I shared with you, the full list of the conditions of approval. There's 22 items. And a number of those are deemed appropriate based on their own municipal code, land use planning, transportation system plan, et cetera. But there's a couple in there that, in my opinion, are discretionary and desirous of the city of Dundee to have, that I don't believe should be applied unilaterally to the district. I think the district should engage in a conversation with the city and possibly negotiate these in the form of an intergovernmental agreement. And that's happened. I think you have an IGA with the Renee Fields because of that park district or the school district contribution, and it's their property. And I've had a number of IGAs like that in the past with cities that reside within the boundaries of my park district that I managed. But it's usually when there's a common contribution, common funding source, which there may be here because the city of Dundee has offered to use future urban renewal district funds as collected to repay CPRD for some of the work on 5th Street, for example. So there's a few things that need to be memorialized anyway. There needs to be that loan agreement needs to be memorialized. We're also asking for a deferral to not build out the full sidewalk and curbs to street standards for that proposed new 5th Street to 7th Street extension on the west side of the park, and to not build those to that spec in phase 1, but rather defer those sidewalk and curbs until that road is required in a subsequent phase. And that would need to be memorialized as well in a MOU or into a kind of a blanket intergovernmental agreement. Now, getting down to, we've already granted 4 right-of-ways, and Casey has got the legal documentation to get those signed by the city, signed by the district, and recorded with the Anthill County. But the new conditions of approval, item 16, added 2 more public utility easements, in addition to the 4 that we had already known and already prepared the legal documentation for. So that was one I wanted to pause a bit because we don't have that work done and in preparation for this phase 1 approval we were seeking. The one I would consider in putting myself in your position and in Casey's position as staff would be item 20. We have submitted a proposed phasing, a very definitive phase 1, and then a proposal of what subsequent phases may look like logically, subject to available funding down the road. This condition of approval 20 reorganizes those phases, moves the new street on 5th to 7th Street connection to phase 2, being the next project the district would need to do after phase 1, before the playground, before the structural center that's being built. But more critically, it would put timelines and deadlines on when those would occur. And this is where it crosses over into your role as a board in establishing and approving the district's capital improvement plan, the sequencing of capital projects based on the needs and interests of the entire district, and available funding sources. So it could be a good aspirational target that you might want to put into an intergovernmental agreement, but you would want some things in there subject to available financing. So you're not committing to a legal agreement or a condition of approval to do phase 1 and then you fail in a subsequent phase because you don't have the funding to build that road within the timeline dictated here. So that was a condition. They did have a condition of 21 that allowed modifications to their proposed sequencing to be changed, but we would have to go through a master plan application process to do that. And then further, item 22, enter into an agreement acceptable to the city that ensures the funding allocation and the construction of the phases. And to me, that's really the IGA. So I kind of teed this up to say, from a staff report perspective, well, finally, before I bring the staff recommendation here, I wanted to also show you, I included a copy of their TSP transportation system plan, and just the section that shows these aspirational projects. Those fall after most likely funding, next most likely funding, and then this is the last category, aspiration. And the 2 streets are D12 and D16. And one of them connects 5th to 7th on the west end of the park, and the other one connects 5th to 7th on the east end of the park. And that's what the right-of-way designations are for that we've already approved. And it's what the 2 public utility easements would be, additional 8 feet on each of those ends, in addition to the right-of-way that's already granted. And then I showed you a map that just identifies D16 and D12 and where they're positioned with the park. So the final point on those is this transportation system plan was done in 2015. It was done when the Sander property was zoned and still is zoned residential. And there was no anticipation of a park being built here. So I don't know if the TSP was, these street connectors were largely driven by the new residential development as zoned. And if that's the case, then there may be an opportunity for the district to petition the city to maybe withdraw those 2 street improvements from their TSP and not have that a mandated improvement for the Sanders Park development. And that's something else that I think could be included in the intergovernmental agreement. So I've given you a lot to kind of contemplate here, and I could certainly be happy to work with Casey to schedule a study session or something if you'd want to dive a little deeper.
Yeah. Gary, I'm going to ask a few questions that are going to be kind of leading questions.
Okay.
Because they're going to have some of my opinion in them, and I apologize for that. So this is a transportation master plan that was developed 10 years ago when this property specifically was zoned residential, and when the understanding from the city at that time, this property was going to be developed into residential property, correct?
That would be my understanding. That was the conditions on the ground at the time the TSP was adopted.
So a transportation master plan that is out of date, that's based on old information, is now being sort of held over us as the basis for building a road up through the middle of a park. Is it normal to build a road up through the middle of a park?
Not usually, not unless you're accessing parking or you've had some kind of a maintenance facility or something that you're providing limited access
And
to.
does it work with the design of the park, and would it even be considered safe to split a portion of the park with a road that connects two different residential developments?
Well, the one benefit is that it's on the ends of the park, so it's not coming through the park. It's booking ending both ends of the park. But it would bring additional vehicular traffic beyond the kind of the east-west Fifth Street volume, the main road that enters into the parking lot. It would introduce some additional north-south. And I think it's on a diagonal, so it's probably northeasterly and southeasterly, but for the sake of simplicity.
And is it your understanding that what's the driver for keeping this road in this park plan? Is this something that's been expressed by the city council in a formal vote? Is this something that's expressed by staff or perhaps just the planning director there?
I think it's, since it is the adopted TSP, then that's the governing document for staff and the board, the city council. City council certainly has some authorities of what to implement on a TSP, and they certainly have the authority to revisit and revise the TSP. And at the information meeting we did attend on the 7th, the newly sworn in mayor did express some interest into revisiting and revising the TSP as being a bit outdated. What I can't speak to is the Public Works Department, most likely working with consultants to draft this TSP. I don't know if they had any other kind of circulation issues beyond that undeveloped 6.7 acres of residential zoning. Okay. If they're looking to create connections anyway to remove pressure off of other arterials or side streets, I can't speak to that. The only thing I can speak to is I see two roads buffering both ends of a 6.7 acre residential zone property that is now going to be a park.
Right. And then to number 20, in your professional experience, is it normal that a planning director would basically tell us the phases and the timeframes and reorganize the phases and the timeframes for a project like this?
If given direction by their council, it would be appropriate because staff works for the elected officials.
Yeah. Interesting
but
concept.
The council also, there's kind of required conditions of approval and desired conditions of approval. Required, there's really not a lot of negotiating. They've got adopted comp plans, they've got procedures. Building a park is going to trigger some conditions, that you need to comply with, and that's it. Then you get into the ones that are, which one are required based on code and other kinds of ordinances, which ones are desirous. And those usually get into the phase as if there's joint funding, joint contributions, a shared effort. Because I have done a couple of parks where I have entered into intergovernmental agreements with another legal entity, another public agency, with some targets of how we would complete it. But even with the city of Happy Valley, I had some big capital projects, but they all had a caveat that they would be built during this time frame if funds became available, and we would identify things like we both must work to pass a general obligation bond, both jurisdictions, in order for us to build that capital project.
Because
So-
I was at that January 7th meeting that you referred to, and the council, the folks that were elected to make decisions, they actually said, we want to move forward with this project. They were happy with the presentation. They had some questions about trees, and we referred them to our tree expert, Brian. But other than that, they were, my understanding is unanimous in their request that we move forward with the conditions of approval that we submitted. And with the idea of breaking ground this spring, this document here, this almost looks like another 3 or 4 years of ping pong. So I think we need to have probably an informal meeting, mixed staff and board members, a couple counselors. We probably need the people that should be making decisions. And then if that doesn't work, perhaps a joint meeting between our board and that council. Because this isn't looking good. This is looking like another 4 years, and then we start losing grants, and we're not keeping the promises we made to the Sanders family when they made the donation.
Can
You have any
I,
ideas?
can I just add,
Yeah.
the original 13 conditions of approval, when they approved the master plan, they just keep adding to them.
Yeah.
So I guess it's their need, I guess. And this is the third planner we've worked with.
Right.
The initial planner had 13, and most of them were stated. And we worked on getting those 13, and then they just keep adding more.
And now we have 22,
Now
and
you
then
have
once we do
22.
these 22, we could have 47.
Yeah.
I don't know how the math works, but yeah.
Cost.
Some,
Yeah.
some of those, things change over time. This has been kind of a lengthy process. But again, it's trying to kind of ferret out what's required versus desired and go from there. Sorry, Jim, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. How are our grants holding up through this bureaucratic turmoil?
Casey's got
They're all
extension
being
requests.
extended.
Because I know the land and water conservation through national parks,
That's in May.
yeah, that's a
That's
whole.
May 31st.
And then we have to go back for review again. So I just, I'm looking at this. I'm a little upset being in this district, living in Dundee in the past, and being in this district for over, since 1980, and seeing this come about where, if I'm looking at this correctly, we would have to, the taxpayers of our district would have to put a street in at the top of the park. But I also notice on D2 that street goes through the rest of our other park.
Oh, Jim, the bottom, the
It's-
lower
it's
part of the
these-
park,
No, I'm talking about the,
It's just D16.
I'm talking about D16 to D2.
Goes all the way through. This is
Oh, yeah.
Park.
but
D16 and D12.
if you look at the lower end of the
No,
park,
I know that,
there's houses on where that road
I-
goes through.
I'm coming to that. I'm just looking to where it's, so D16 is going all the way through our Dundee Billick Park on the other side.
Right through the skate park.
Am I right?
Yeah, right through there.
That does appear to be the case.
I don't
So
even
that
know if
could-
there's any kind of agreement with that street, period. There. And so I'm
Yeah,
saying,
and
and
would
that
that- and would that
connects,
be-
and that connects to the top of the, I'm just looking at this
To City
and
Hall.
going, wow. And then, I'm looking at Greystone, those neighbors don't want that street on top anyway. And it's going across, I'm not even sure if we have an MOU at all about the coming across back in, what did you say, 2015, to put that other street in. And then I look below at D12, and I would like to know, they're talking about putting that street through our property, in fact, the taxpayers' property, and then 1, 2, 3 other properties. Has that
Oh.
even been discussed with those other properties? That's something we should know, because if they don't know that, and it's not realistic, I don't know, number one, if this district can afford that. Number two, they're taking parkland from the constituents. And that's a real concern of mine. And my last comment is Jan, who donated all this property and helped to fund it to a point, she may not be around to see this.
Exactly.
And that is a travesty
Yeah.
for both parties involved, both the city of Dundee and the Park District, and we need to make this right.
Yeah, it sounds like the only loser in all this is just the taxpayers and the citizens, but
But
some
anyway,
of the bureaucrats went out though. Right?
Well, and I think to Jim's point, D2, if that remains in their TSP, then if you ever want to do something on the Billick property, that would probably, trigger a similar condition of approval that D2 get built in accordance with the TSP. So
Just knock down some houses and cut a couple parks in half for a road.
Well, we're gonna have to do an MOU, but I'd like to work this out. But we need to work this out sooner than later, or we're gonna miss another year, another building year. And I can't tell you what's gonna happen with our grants after that. We cannot apply for any more grants. We have two outstanding grants, this one, and we have, doing the Rennie property with a grant. We can't apply for any more grants until these are going. So that puts a halt on anything we wanna do in trying to get money from the state to match what we're trying to do in this district. So, I'm just really, I'm really thankful that you're helping with us with this. So I appreciate your time. And, I know you've gone through this before and I appreciate Casey's time, so let's just keep at it.
Well, is there a way to move this forward more quickly? I mean, this seems to be a little silly, and I hate to say it to you, sir, but Dundee is the one that's gonna lose out on this. Because if it becomes more and more continuing to add stuff, it just never starts, and you guys won't have anything except Elliott Park, which is currently there. I mean, at some point.
I think I've
it
got an
matters.
answer for that, a couple of options for you. And I can't see off camera, but I assume you're addressing the counselor that testified earlier today as a citizen. And Matt and I think both, I don't want to speak for Matt, but I think I got a sense there's certainly an interest, a willingness, a desire on the Dundee City Council to get this project done and moving forward. There's great interest. And I don't think when they drafted these additional conditions of approval, they thought they were throwing a giant wrench in the process to just, muck it up. I just think it kind of overstepped and kind of imposed some unilateral impositions on you that as a board of a separate taxing public agency, you need the ability to kind of control your own capital project plan and your available funding and where you deem the next most appropriate project to be, unless you enter into an intergovernmental agreement and negotiate acceptable, mutually agreeable terms. So Doug Rux told me, again, we're well beyond the 180 days of this application. So if nothing's done in the next 7 days, it'll be deemed incomplete and this application will fall and we will have to start the process over again. From kind of the beginning, as far as just resubmitting a new application. It wouldn't be probably super onerous because all the work's been done and everything's laid out, but it would restart the clock. Or the district can ask for an extension. And he kind of proposed extending to March 31st to get these conditions of approval or the IGA worked out with this current application in place.
Yeah.
And the recommendations I kind of teed up for you, they're right after that map, is you can either accept their new conditions of approval and we'll just get back on the agenda for the council and keep this moving forward, but knowing that you're committing to 2 additional right-of-ways and building the road next in phase 2 by a date certain. Not hard and fast, but you would have to go in and negotiate changes to those terms if you moved with phase 1 under those conditions of approval. Or you could reject this condition of approval and halt the project. And I don't think anybody wants to stop this project. Or you could negotiate these new conditions of approval and incorporate it, into an intergovernmental agreement. And in that IGA, I would include, okay, how are we gonna build this park out? What do we mutually agree upon how the CPRD is gonna build this park out to full build out, in what phases, subject to funding being available. Item 2 would be the deferral agreement. So phase 1 can proceed without building that roadway. And the third would be a loan agreement between Dundee's Urban Renewal District and CPRD to repay CPRD for the Fifth Street public street improvements that the city has expressed their willingness to pay for. They just don't have the money collected. They've exhausted all their current URDs, so they've got to wait for more funds to come in. Since that is with their development agency and not the city, I'm not sure that could be in a single IGA, or if there might need to be 2 IGAs, one with the Urban Renewal District for the loan and the other one's on the build out. But that would be my recommendation, is just in good faith, sit down with the council and staff of the respective agencies and come up with an agreeable course of action to get this project built.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yeah, Lisa?
Yeah, so, you know, you mentioned that these requirements that kind of got added are probably because they're using an outdated transportation plan. And so by law, they have to like add this stuff in, right? Because that's what the transportation plan. So.
Yeah, maybe
that would-
outdated, but it's the only one.
It's
they've
what's
got,
sitting there. So if they have to change that transportation plan, I'm thinking it's kind of like a master plan and it takes more than 60 days,
Oh, yeah.
right? So if we're gonna move forward, I mean, I think we almost have to let it expire. Because where we're sitting right now, even if we extend this till March 31st, we don't have enough time to do what needs to be done in order to move this project forward.
Unless you can negotiate that you can start phase 1 and not be required to do any work on those proposed new streets until subsequent phases, which would give you time for them to revise the TSP and see if those streets can be removed from the TSP before a next phase is done.
But where we're at right
Yeah.
now, if we start phase 1, we are then agreeing to these 22 conditions.
100%.
No,
If you just accepted the conditions.
Well,
yeah,
no,
as-
but what I'm saying is that in order to move forward, right, with phase 1, because the transportation plan is the way it is, we actually have to accept these and hope they'll change them later on.
You could ask for an extension till March 31st and renegotiate these conditions of approval with this current app to not require those road improvements during phase 1, or even require that the road be done in phase 2. I mean, you can give you time to get phase 1 done with the expectation, full understanding that the district's gonna ask for the city to remove these roads from their TSP, so it's not a requirement for future phases of the project when they get built.
Well, and other options are to also rezone this so that it doesn't reflect as a residential, or simply just request that the city council just not require the road. My understanding is, yes, it's part of a master plan, but as you all know, we all have master plans that change over time, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and those are not set in stone requirements, they're general guidelines.
And it's defined as aspirational.
Yeah.
And way down the list of priority
Right.
road improvements.
Right. So this,
So I think the city council could absolutely defer these.
yeah,
But you're right, we've got a Title IV application ready to submit that could be part of this process, which is a request to rezone from residential to parks and open space.
right. So I think negotiating the conditions of approval, a couple of us board members, Jim and I probably, with a couple city councilors, and then you, Casey, and then whatever staff Dundee would like to provide, we can meet up and try to hash something out. Because this isn't okay
It'll be Doug
as
and
it
Steve.
stands, in my opinion. So we have to, I think we have to get to the point where we're getting to the decision makers, the people who are elected to make decisions. Because we will never get past the barrier that has been created here,
I
in
also
my
think-
opinion.
I also think the city of Dundee needs to look at the TSP a little bit, because the way they have that running right now, I'm not sure it's viable. The way they've got it, just the roads themselves. I mean, half of it's running through a park we already have. I don't get that part.
Well, it was put in the premise, and I can't speak for what was going on at the time, but I'm pretty sure Jan mentioned to the city several times that she didn't want any roads.
Oh, I'm 100% sure. 100%. But with that said, I think that the statement that you made, if we can get together and go back and see if we can abridge this.
Yeah. Yeah, I am in full support of option C, and that including a sit down. We need to get the elected folks there, and start
How about
making decisions
we'll
that.
request
Yeah.
we'll request an extension until March 31st of
Yep.
the existing application.
Yeah.
So we don't have to start over. And then see between then and now, we can get that meeting set to agree on terms and conditions. Use this conditions of approval as kind of a term sheet to start with, and kind of go from there and see what we can lay out for both the immediate phase one project that we want to get moving on, but also kind of teeing up what subsequent phases might look like and the impact of the TSP on those.
And again, I'm gonna say that I'm hoping that we can get a shovel in the ground late spring. If we don't get it going this summer, then we will have another year. And I left in 2018 as an employee. I think we were talking about this back in 2017. It's been way too long. And I think that the city council, the city of Dundee will look at this and say, hey, we'll work with you. I'm hoping.
I'm always optimistic. I think, I think
Yeah.
everybody's desires are kind of aligned. I think it's just a matter of now coming to terms on the fine print. And I got a sense, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I got a little bit of a sense that there were maybe some verbal agreements in the past that didn't get fulfilled or something. And so Matt, you saw that the former mayor testified, get it in writing, with the park district on what they're gonna do and when they're gonna do it. So I think that drove a little bit of these conditions of approval.
Yeah. Okay, well, board, does everyone agree with requesting an extension and then option C? We want to direct staff to do those things.
Yeah.
Any other thought, discussion? Jason?
No, I think that's probably the right move.
Gail, any thoughts? No? Okay. I think we're all unanimous
Yeah.
on that. Okay, we will get it done, and again, we're all here serving the same taxpayers, so another 8 years of delay is not in anyone's interest.
So Casey, the sooner we can set that meeting, I guess,
Yeah.
the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
get on it next week. Okay. Anything else, Gary or Casey? Do you have any other capital project updates? Anything?
Just that we're gonna meet with the Newberg School District next week to talk with the new interim superintendent
Okay.
regarding the Rennie project, and see if we can get some of that moving.
Okay. Okay. Send me a email
An
for that
invite?
one. Yeah.
I think it's on Wednesday at 3:00.
Okay.
But I will
Perfect.
send you.
I think I'll come to that too.
Yeah.
Unless Lisa, you're gonna go to that.
You go right ahead. I think I actually have a meeting that I can't get out of. on
Okay, Wednesday,
so-
3:00.
Okay. Staff reports. Julie, we'll start with you, and then we'll just go that way.
Man, I feel like November and December was so long ago. You know? Oh my gosh, just thinking back and looking at all the activity reports. Let's see. So, in the sports department, basketball is going really well. We have 700 kids playing basketball right now, and that's incredible. So all of the gyms are filled up, and they play their games on Saturday at the Newberg or in Newberg District gymnasiums. So it's just, we really appreciate all the volunteer coaches in our community. We have about, I would say, 75 to 80 of them, and it's incredible. So I want to say thank you. And then also, I don't know if you guys know Mark Johnson, but he's a teacher at the high school, and he's also a coach there as well. And he has stepped forward to help us with our travel basketball program. And he's really put in a lot of time. I don't think he realized how much time youth sports takes, but he's done a wonderful job helping us. So at Park and Rec, we offer a kindergarten through second grade program for the littles. And then we also offer our junior Tiger basketball program, which is 3rd grade through 8th grade. And then we also, for kids who want more, we have a travel basketball program. And they play outside of Newberg on weekends. And so we kind of feel like we've covered the bases and offer everybody an opportunity. So it's been really fun to see all those kids in the gym. In aquatics, Jim had mentioned, Wendy and Chris are doing a tremendous job over there. I wanted to mention personally that Wendy, in December, put together we have like a giving tree for the acute care facility behind the aquatic center. And so staff participated in that, and then they delivered all those goods and gifts to that acute care facility. And I just wanted to thank Wendy for that. That was really a nice thing to do. And they sent her a thank you. And so that was tremendous for those people to receive those extra special gifts. We had a lot of no school public swims this year during the December, and actually during November as well. Our comp pool, the Jim McMaster comp pool, has been very, very busy with CST, which is our, we have like it's called the Chehalem swim team. They are the little, like middle school, elementary, middle school, and some high school kids that swim. Newberg High School, boys and girls. The Sherwood High School team is using comp pool as well. We have the George Fox football team that use the comp pool after practice. And then the GFU swim team, they were in and out during the month of December. So I just wanted to mention that place is packed. But really nice to see all the people, in there working out and during break, and so we're very busy over there. Let's see, our senior center that's going very well as well. Our Sarah Larison, who is our senior specialist, applied for a $25,000 grant and got it. And so we are going to the grant is for a $25,000 upgrade to our kitchen. And so we'll be working with Brian's team to get that done. Sarah also received another $500 grant for plates and dishes. So we have Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. we have lunch for seniors, for those that want to come in and eat at the facility, in addition to our Meals on Wheels program, but we do offer that. And so Sarah's been doing a great job with that. And we started a new bar fusion class at the senior center, so like to see you guys there maybe sometime. Jim?
No. Jason told me he wanted to go.
I'd like to see both you guys there. And then I don't know if I had mentioned before, but we did have our fall bazaar, and we had over 75 vendors, and it was we had a great turnout. We spilled, we of course used the senior center, but we spilled into Crater, into their gymnasium, completely filled that up, and then went into their hallway. So I wanted to thank Crater Elementary for allowing us to do that, but it was fantastic, and it was really, really fun. Let's see, childcare is going well. We were open during the Christmas vacation and Thanksgiving vacation as well, but we were able to also staff furlough days in November, December for the school district. They were packed. They had about 50 kids, I think, every day. And then in our recreation program, our gymnastics classes are going great. We have after-school community school classes, so we offer classes for kids that want something, or that just enjoy after school going to an activity that's maybe not a sport. And so that is like choir, guitar, we have ukulele, we have percussion. We started Mabel Rush has a Lego engineering class, which has been really, really popular. And then at Crater, in the month of November, we started a dance class. really fun. And then budgets. We're on it. So we're looking forward to meeting with the new superintendent and going over those budgets and getting to know that superintendent and explaining to them kind of what we do and getting new eyes on those budgets, and very excited about that. And I just want to thank you guys for putting so much time and effort into the superintendent search. That was tremendous. And it was really neat to see all the people at the meet and greet on January 6th for the superintendent. And there were a lot of interested people in the community, and that was wonderful to see the community support and interest in our new superintendent. So we're excited moving forward.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm a user of that facility, and the last times I've been in there, there's a roof leak. I assume that's been reported and perhaps fixed
Are you referring to the senior center?
in the senior center.
Okay. Are we aware
It's
of
not
a,
leaking at the senior center. They have scuppers on top, and they have roof drains, and as the seasons change, if they don't stay on top of that, a little bit of debris plugs that, and it causes that backup. But it's been thoroughly inspected, and just recently,
So it's
and
stopped leaking?
it is not leaking, yes. Officially leaking. Sorry for that, if it got on you, or any inconvenience there.
oh, Brian, are you enjoying the dry weather?
Very much so, yeah, very much so. But,
Any news in your staff report?
It's in there, in your board pack, but Parks and Facility, they remain very busy, as you all know,
Mhm.
year-round, and we're very fortunate in that regard. So we're plowing through winter, and we're actually doing some mowing and lots of edging in the parks with our bend track mowers, which are wonderful tools to have, and the apparatuses that are on those. So that's really cool. A lot of trail maintenance, and we have some really large user groups and a large volume of users on those trails. And they're seeing high volume year-round. We've taken steps throughout the years to make them so they can be accessed year-round. So in January, as well as in June, which is cool. Doing a lot of playground inspecting right now. This time of year, we have a new certified playground inspector, Dean, one of our staff members, which is cool. And so that's a really important job, because there's a lot of hours that the community puts in those parks. So we're really happy about that. Dean's doing a great job there. We've installed park rules and trail signage throughout the district, updated and installed that. And personally, I'd like to thank again Director McMaster for helping with that on his own time, of auditing that. That was cool. We have had damage in different areas. That's just the part of doing business as a public entity. Speaking of Dundee, we had to replace a urinal out there, and you're absolutely right. It's doesn't matter what size town you have. There's everybody gets their share of knuckleheads going through it at one time or another. It's not professional, but yeah. So we had some instances at Dundee. We, with that in mind, we've part of next year's budget and our current budget, we have been trying to catch up on our maybe surveillance that we have in the district in terms of monitoring our properties. I think that's really important, and IT and Parks Facilities has done a good job with that, and we've actually, for lack of a better word, apprehended people that have done the damage in certain places, and it's unfortunate. The last group was at Jacobit, and it was a couple of middle schoolers. We all know, as anybody's a parent in here, or was a middle schooler one time, you lose your brain as a middle schooler and do silly stuff, but it's not so silly because it does impact the community, and there's a cost factor involved and a safety factor. But so that's unfortunate. But we are not sitting on our hands, and I think it's important. It's a new reality nowadays of you have to be proactive to not be a victim, maybe per se, as a public entity.
I was gonna say really quick, those kids rode up on bikes, right? And then they were outside the restroom, and they had backpacks, and you could hear one of the kids say to the other kid, they saw the camera, they looked up and they saw the camera, and one said to the other, they can't put cameras in the actual bathrooms, let's go. So they go into the bathroom, and then all of a sudden you hear this like spray paint. There you go.
One other positive,
It's
moving
that
on.
middle-aged
One other
brain.
positive thing, we just completed the installation of 2 new hoop houses, tunnels that were donated to us by contacts we had at OVS, Oregon Vineyard Supply. It was a wonderful donation, and we're adding that to our grow operation that we have on Wilsonville Road. And that's where we propagate and grow thousands of plants throughout the district on pennies on the dollar. Saunders property. And so we have a lot of plants out there waiting and ready to go, and we'll keep adding more. So that was one good example of staff coming together and working with outside entities. So I think that's really cool. Irrigation main line repairs, LED. We received a very large grant earlier in the year. I forget which entity it was, but of LED lights and ballasts.
Oregon Trust.
And we're going throughout the facilities now and installing all those, which is neat. So, and Sonder Estate Landscape and Irrigation Plan moving forward. I had met with Brett, and we're all on the same page there, and ready to pull the trigger on that. I'm anxious to put a shovel on the ground as much as anybody here. And then working with the Trails Committee, that's been really motivating for me on a personal level, and just a great group of people, and so we're really excited to keep moving forward with that. And the Riley property is absolutely, it's gonna be very challenging, but a lot of positive folks involved that not necessarily live down here, but up on the hill, that know that place better than anybody else. So we're really fortunate as a district to have that resource of the community members helping us out. So I'm really anxious and excited to get started on that. And just to close and reiterate what Julie said, budget work and working with the staff. Squeezing that in too.
I was gonna say, Brian,
Yes, sir.
I had a patron walk up to me and say, they really like the new signs that are in the parks, so kudos to you on the design and how they look, and they're easy to read, so that was good to hear. Second, I'm glad that you put the man hours back into the board packet, so that the board can see how many hours each maintenance employee is putting in at what location, which is great. And the third thing is, you might want to discuss with the new superintendent those mag locks that you put in a while ago that we're not using on those restrooms. So.
That's a staff decision. The superintendent has a big influence on that. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, and on signs, I think the request I heard from the community was at least 900 more dog on leash signs. It's kind of a joke.
Right.
Kellen, you're up next.
Excuse me, not much to report on. They both said budgets, obviously, getting budgets started. And then also starting to work on rates for spring and summer, which brings up a question. Jim, you mentioned last time when we changed rates at last board meeting, that goes through the board. Do you want me to submit those to you for the board packet, or how's that work?
Yes.
Okay.
And it just needs to be, you just need to clarify why.
Yeah.
But it needs to be approved by the board.
Yeah, but budget for it.
Yeah.
I know it's a hassle, but yeah.
We'll get it done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, with that said, we will be moving into 2 executive sessions. First is to consider the employment of an officer, employee, staff member, or agent for ORS 1926602A and 1926607. Also, an executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions per ORS 1926602E. We will, of course, come out of the executive sessions into an open session to make any decisions. So we will take a 5-minute recess, and then we will move into our executive session.
Are we staying here, or are we going in the back?
We'll probably go back in there, I think. Well,
Hey, thanks for what you're doing. Appreciate that.
because I don't know. So, Jim, what does it look like back there in Dawn's?
Oh,
Like, are we able to sit there, or is it too?
we leave everybody out of here. We're just doing here. Okay.
That's when they
I think he's got stuff on the table, I think, back there.
because we're not doing the whole park. So we're, this is a land use. And
You should be pretty busy out there this year. I mean, it's like summer, well, not summer, but it's dry weather, except it's kind of frozen in the morning, otherwise it's gotta be busy.
yeah, he was originally. Then I forget who it was. Anyway, so it just keeps going on and on.
I can hear you.
Okay, we are coming out of our 2 executive sessions, and I will hand it over to Lisa.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to offer Clay Downing the superintendent position at CPRD and to approve the terms of the contract as described of the written contract as discussed in executive session.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion regarding the motion? Hand?
Can we move the date up?
So let's,
No, that was in the written contract.
All in favor of the motion as so stated, please state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, that is 1 abstention. Okay.
welcome to CPRD.
Gail abstained. Yep. Okay. And
Congratulations,
Congrats.
the new director.
And for our other executive session, make a motion that we will counter the demand received for the purchase of the property at 900 Winooski for $125,000, including a donation letter. Or the seller is requested to give us a 30-day extension in order to obtain our own appraisal should they not be satisfied with option 1. That is the motion on the table.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion?
So Matt Smith made that motion?
Yes. Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor of the motion as so stated, state aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion does pass unanimously. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.